It seems that the animals in its group do not have a common characteristic, but they do. The animals you see in group 1 have backbones made up of pieces called vertebrae. That's why they're called vertebrates. The animals in group 2 don't have backbones. They are called invertebrates. Let's focus on the vertebrates. Vertebrates can be further divided into 5 different groups, namely fishes, amphibians, birds, reptiles, and mammals. Fish live exclusively in the water. There are saltwater fish as well as freshwater fish. Fish have fins to swim with. Most have scales that cover their skin, while some have a slimy, slippery skin. The body temperatures of fish vary with the environment. Hence, they are categorized as cold-blooded animals. Fish breathe with their gills. When a fish opens its mouth, water enters. And when it closes its mouth, its gill flaps open for water to pass through and out of the gills. Oxygen dissolved in the water diffuses into the gill cells, and carbon dioxide diffuses out of the gill cells. Some teachers have the mistaken idea that oxygen in the water originates from the splitting of water molecules into oxygen and hydrogen. This is not possible because splitting water molecules, also called hydrolysis, requires a tremendous amount of energy. Actually, the source of dissolved oxygen in the water comes from the atmosphere and from aquatic plants like algae. Let's find out about another group of vertebrates that live on land but return to the water to breathe. Frogs, toads, and salamanders are amphibians. They too are cold-blooded animals. Most frogs are slender, long-legged, and have smooth skin, while most toads are squat, stocky, and have coarse, sometimes warty skin. Salamanders look like lizards, but have smooth, moist skin. Amphibians live on land, but return to the water to breathe. Among frogs and toads, the male clasps the body of the female, while the latter lays eggs in the water. The male then releases sperm to fertilize the eggs. Thus, eggs are fertilized externally. The larvae, called tadpoles, hatch from the eggs and change into tiny frogs as they mature and develop. There are more than 8,000 different kinds of birds, and they live all over the world. Like reptiles, they too lay eggs. And like amphibians, some are good swimmers. What makes the bird different from every other kind of animal? There's only one answer. Birds are the only creatures that have feathers. There are birds that fly and birds that walk and run. A few can even swim quite well. There are large birds as well as some very small ones, like the bee hummingbirds, whose body is no bigger than a thumbnail. Birds differ from each other by the color of their feathers. Some have spectacular plumage, while others have feathers that blend with their environment and habitat. A feather isn't a live part of the bird. You could cut the feather into two and it would not bleed. It wouldn't hurt the bird any more than a haircut hurts you. Another way to differentiate birds is by the shape of their beaks. The shape of a bird's beak can tell you what or how it eats. And although birds display an incredible variety, they have one other thing in common. The eggs they lay are covered with a hard shell. But birds are not the only animals that lay eggs. Another group that does so are the vertebrates called the reptiles. Snakes, pythons, crocodiles, and alligators are reptiles. The bodies of reptiles are usually covered with a dry, scaly skin, which is waterproof. This enables them to live in dry regions away from water. Reptiles have lungs for breathing air and are known to be cold-blooded animals. Fertilization of eggs takes place inside a female's body, and the eggs they lay are enclosed in a tough, leathery shell. The long-extinct dinosaurs are believed to be members of this group, and today, here in the Philippines, a few reptiles are also dangerously close to vanishing forever. Mammals are the only vertebrates whose skins are covered with hair and have sweat glands. Whales are also mammals, although the only hair you may find on them are the whiskers. Mammals breathe with their lungs. Their bodies have diaphragms, which divide the body cavity into thorax and abdomen. The fertilization of eggs is internal. Offspring develop inside the mother's body in the womb and are born alive. Young mammals are fed with milk from mammary glands, which are found exclusively in mammals. Mammals manage to live almost everywhere. Polar bears live in some of the coldest places in the world. Camels live in some of the hottest places. Whales, dolphins, and manatees are mammals that spend their whole lives in the ocean. Seals and walruses, on the other hand, are amphibious mammals. They sometimes leave the water to breathe and rest. Australia, Tasmania, and New Guinea are home to a unique group of mammals called marsupials. These are pouch-bearing animals. Marsupials like kangaroos, wallaroos, wallabies, bandicoots, and possums belong to the marsupial group of mammals. The females of this mammalian group have pouches inside their bodies where babies developed. But there are two curious mammals that lay eggs. One of them is the platypus. The name platypus means flat or broad-footed. Its scientific name, Ornithorhynchus, means bird snout or bird bill. Thus, we call this mammal the duck-billed platypus. As big as a rabbit, it has short fur, claws, and a tail like a beaver. It lives in burrows where it lays eggs. The other egg-laying mammal is the spiny ant-eater. The mother has a pouch into which it transfers the eggs it lays. Bats are the only mammals that fly. There are many kinds of bats, and we can classify them by what they eat. There are bats that eat insects. Others eat only fruits. And some feed on the blood of larger animals.